for the first game in the Carolina Panthers' history in 1995, is now the team's sixth head coach. Reich agreed to a 4-year deal that is expected to be finalized Monday, a league source told ESPN. Owner David Tepper chose Reich, 61, after a search that included 9 candidates, including interim head coach Steve Wilks and former New Orleans Saints coach Sean Payton. It ultimately came down to Reich and Wilks, who went 6-6 after Matt Rule was fired following a 1-4 start. So Wilks was the sentimental favorite of the Carolina Panthers to get that full-time job. Tepper called Wilks to inform him he was not getting the job, that according to a source who added that there currently have been no discussions about whether Wilks will be asked to stay as a member of the staff. Now, Wilks joined a discrimination lawsuit against the NFL, first filed by former Dolphins coach Brian Flores after the Cardinals fired Wilks after 1 season as head coach in 2018. The firm representing Wilks said in a statement Thursday, "We are shocked and disturbed that the incredible job Coach Wilks did as the interim coach, including bringing the team back into playoff contention and garnering the support of the players and fans, that he was passed over for the head coach position by David Tepper. There is a legitimate race problem in the NFL, and we can assure you that we will have more to say in the coming days." This morning, Steve Wilks tweeted the following: "The sun rose this morning, and by the grace of God, so did I. I'm disappointed but not defeated. Many people aren't built for this, but I know what it means to persevere and see it through. It was an honor for me to coach these men in the Carolina Panthers locker room as the interim head coach. Players, coaches, and staff, thank you for your dedication. I took pride in representing Charlotte, a great city that I love so much. Thank you to my family, to my friends, the community, for your overwhelming support. I do wish Frank Reich all the best. I will always be a fan of the Carolina Panthers football team." That was a classy statement right there. Stephen A., I'll start with you. Is this the right move by Wilks in terms of how he's approaching this?
If you don't mind, Molly, I would like to hear from 2 former NFL players first. I want to hear what they have to say. I know what I'm going to say.
Okay, let's start with
But
Ryan.
I definitely want to start with Swagoo and Ryan Clark.
Let me go? Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead, Swag.
RC, you up.
Yeah, I think, first off, Steve Wilks handled this the way that he's supposed to handle it, because how else are you going to handle it? It's not like he's going to go do something else. He's not going to go sell cars because he didn't get the head coaching job of the Carolina Panthers. I think a lot of times when you have someone who has an opportunity that Steve Wilks has to take over a team that's underachieved, to take over in a team that has no organizational consistency, and you can do what he was able to do with some of the same players that Matt Rule was paid $70 million to coach, you say to yourself, this is a guy that's proven in the heat of the moment, in that exact building, that he is the man for the job. But he doesn't get it. And let's juxtapose that to what's happening in Indianapolis. In Indianapolis, Jim Irsay, who watched Jeff Saturday, our former colleague, somebody I love a ton, struggle immensely as the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, only winning his first game against the Las Vegas Raiders. And it said in that building that Jim Irsay wants to hire Jeff Saturday as the coach, but there are other people who are pushing back on it, right? And so then we listen to the statement made by the law firm, and it's that there's a race problem in the NFL. There's a discrimination problem in the NFL. And to that, I say, duh. This is nothing new. This is not something that we're talking about for the very first time when it comes to coaches. And we speak about it all the time, and I'm tired of the broken record of saying, look at ownership. What is ownership familiar with? Ownership is familiar with themselves. They're familiar with the people that move around in the rooms they move around in. The people in the rooms they move around in as billionaires look like them. They talk like them. They feel, they motivate, they teach like them. And so when they sit in front of people, what do they want? They want people that are like them. And they want that familiar feel, that, oh, that rah-rah, that old frat boy that I'm used to in his excitement. I can get with that. the adversities that he's faced and the things that he's gone through in life, I understand more than I understand the things that Steve Wilks has gone through in life, because I don't know what it's like to be him. I don't know what it's like to have to come up in the ranks like him. I don't know what it's like to only get a year to prove yourself in Arizona with the quarterback at Josh Rosen, who's not even on the roster right now, who wasn't good enough in the first place, but we could get rid of you for Cliff Kingsbury, who had failed at a college and was going to be an offense coordinator somewhere else, but we'll bring him up because that's familiar, because it's like me. And so, whereas I'd like to say I'm surprised, I'm actually not. I was hopeful that Steve Wilks would get the job, and clearly it looks like he got a fair chance in the interview process, but David Tepper went with somebody that was like him, which is what most of the owners do anyway. So I'm not surprised. I think that Steve Wilks handled it the only way he could because he still wants a job. In order to keep a job, Brian Flores found out you better not shake or rattle the cage too much because they'll just lock it on you. And then you got to go be an assistant for another black coach who was the only coach that would give you a chance.
RC, you said the point that I wanted to make, brother. This is a ever-revolving conversation that we've had, and I think these coaches, these black coaches, have realized maybe the only way we find some significant change or movement in this conversation is through the law. And I don't even know if that is going to work. It's easy for three black men right here sitting on First Take to feel defeated, but you can't stop fighting. And I think that's what these guys are reminded of every time these situations come about and they don't get hired and they get passed over. But I just want to make a point, and I'm going to move on, Stephen A., because I don't have much to say about this. I'm emotionally exhausted talking about black coaches and should they be hired and does the credentials line up, because they do. I think the biggest slap in the face, and one of them is what RC alluded to. Cliff Kingsbury got hired from Texas Tech not having a successful program. And Steve Wilks just happened to be the guy that was the predecessor to when he was signed because of familiarity. Nathaniel Hackett just led the worst offense in the NFL and got picked up as the New York Jets.
2 times in the AFC Championship game in consecutive seasons. This in spite of the fact that Mahomes, through 5 seasons, has by far the greatest start to any career in the history of football. Right? Like, look at his numbers, look at the eye test, look at the team success, the whole thing. If Burrow does that and then goes on to win the Super Bowl, well, let's say it's against Jalen Hurts, someone he already, he faced Jalen Hurts, and I don't know, he's playing the defense, not Jalen Hurts, but they faced each other in the playoff in college football, and Burrow gave him seven touchdowns and 400 yards in the first half, right? Or if it's the Niners in that defense, either way, if Burrow goes on to win the Super Bowl, when you think about it all, how is Joe Burrow not the face of the NFL? Would he be? Keith says no. It takes time. People make up their minds. It's slow to change. Plus, Burrow has a certain swag that might turn some on Madison Avenue off, or at least in Middle America, perhaps.
Really?
Well, this.
Really?
I don't feel that way, but perhaps that is the argument. Ben in Colorado. Yes, Key, go ahead. I see.
No, go with Ben.
All right, Ben in Colorado.
Yeah, hey guys, love the show. Yes, Joe Burrow will be the face of the NFL. He's actually the next Tom Brady. If you look at him play, he's great. But for some reason, Key's fascination with Aaron Rodgers and some of these other guys who have won Super Bowl and choke in the playoffs all the time, I don't get Key's thing with always bringing up Aaron Rodgers. It's like, come on, stop it with that. He has one Super Bowl. He's a choker. Going to the Jets, he's not going to do it. Yes, it's Joe Burrow. That's the next Tom Brady.
Ben, don't hang up, please. First of all, there's no fascination with Aaron Rodgers. What it is the truth. I'm just trying to tell you the truth of how people think. Max and Jay could tell you, at least Jay can, because Max wasn't around me on the show. When Lamar Jackson won MVP, the first thing I said is, even prior, when he was on his way to winning MVP, I said, when have you seen an MVP not be celebrated at the level that he should be celebrated at? He was not celebrated as the MVP. No commercials, no this, no that. Because the minds were already made up. They already thinking, this is what we're looking for. This is what we're going to do. I'm not saying that Joe Burrow won't get there. I'm just saying, if he wins the Super Bowl, he may get 1 or 2. It may be something. But you still got Patrick Mahomes.
You're saying it's like turning an ocean liner or something, right? Like it's a long, slow kind of turn. It's not a quick
all of a sudden,
90-degree.
It's not. They're not all of a sudden getting ready to sweep Patrick Mahomes into the dustpan.
Nobody.
And Tom Brady into the dustpan and Aaron Rodgers into the dustpan. They're not going to do that.
I do not think anybody is going to sweep Patrick Mahomes into the dustpan, but I